is called the equal concept, which if you can see over here is actually in PSLE 2016, and then another one in PSLE 2017, and another one is PSLE 2015, right? So the first one is this equal concept, okay, equal concept. Now the second one that we found is this remainder concept, right? So you can see over here PSLE 2015, PSLE 2017, as well as 2017 again. So in 2017 they were really into remainder concept, okay. And next we have this repeated identity, right? So for repeated identity 2015, next one is okay, this is actually from the Sally Betty Jane question. This is actually from a prelim question, and another one was a prelim question, okay. And how about before and after? So before and after, you actually see that there isn't any question that was being asked for the past 3 years. But where did we get all these questions from? These are all from the prelim papers. So as you can see, when you do all the different types of heuristics, you're actually preparing for prelim, not so much of the actual PSLE, okay. But you see all these are being tested in prelim, right? Except for this particular one. Oops. So this one was being tested. This whole question is being tested in 2017, right? So this is before and after, right? So after this, now then we also went on to look at foundation. So previously it was for standard, so now this is the foundation. So for foundation, we found that most of them is just remainder concept. So there's actually no need for you to go and learn more than remainder concept. Alright, so look at all the years: 2015, 2016, see here 2016, right? Remainder concept, again 2016, almost every year, you know, they test remainder concept. This is for foundation. So if you have students or if you have students or your child who's in foundation, just make sure that they're really good in this remainder concept, okay. So next, what I want to do is to actually go through the different types of concepts to have you understand exactly what they are about. Now if you have not downloaded the 2-page heuristics that we have compiled, you can actually go and download them. It's in our Facebook page. Yeah, you have to actually join our Facebook group to do that. Okay, so let's take a look at this equal concept. So what is this equal concept? Now question number 1 is this Suyin baked some pies, right? Actually came out in PSLE 2016. So let's take a look at the question. So Suyin baked some pie. She gave 1/5 of them to her relatives and 30 of them to her friends, and she was left with 2/3 of the pies. So what do we mean by okay, so what do we mean by equal concept? Now in this particular question, you have to realize that the 5 and the 3 is referring to the total number of pies, okay. Now once you realize that the 5 and the 3 is referring to the total number of pies, you will have to make them equal, right? So what do? We change the denominator to 15, so it is referring to the total number of pies, okay. And once you make the remainder 15, so for example relatives here, 1/5 to a relatives, right? So 1/5 relative change to 3/15, 30 friends, so this is like 2/15, because 2/3 left, it's 10 out of 15 left. So if you take a look at this whole thing, it should be 15 out of 15, but if you minus 15, take away 3, take away 10, you're left with 2. So 2/5 is your 30 pies, and you can find that 1/5 is 15 pies. Okay, next. So 2017 we have this particular question. So this is on equal concept again. How do you know that? Because you see you have 3 containers, P, Q, R. Now the key here is that she poured an equal amount of water into each of them, and after that you actually get different types of different fractions. Okay, so half of P was filled, 1/4 of Q was filled, and 2/3 of R was filled. So I have it here, the information, half of P, this 1/4 of Q, and 2/3 of R was filled. But you must understand that all, the amount of water that was poured in are the same. What this means is that the numerator here are supposed to be the same, but then what is being shown to you is otherwise, they are different. So what you need to do is to change and make the numerator the same. That's what we did with these 2, 2, and 2. Now once you have figured out that, once you have created the common numerator, you have to realize that the denominator is referring to the capacity of the tank. So we have 4, 8, and 3 as shown over here. Alright, so this is our equal concept. Now the last but not least, let's zoom in. Okay, last but not least, we have this from 2015. So bag contains straws of 3 different colors, 1/4 blue, the fraction of red to green 2:3, and what is the fraction of blue to green? So we are given this set of ratios, right? So blue is to red plus green is 1:3, and then red is to green is 2:3, right? So we want to make this the same. Now this type of question can also be known as repeated identity. Why? Because this total here and here is being repeated, right? Or you can simply make sure that they are the same, right? Just make sure these two are the same, okay? Just make sure that they are equal. So how to make 3 and 5 equal? This ratio, first set of ratio you got to multiply by 5, second set of ratio you got to multiply by 3. Why? Because the common multiple between 3 and 5 is 15. And once you do that, you have a new set of ratio, so you can find out the fraction of blue to green is 5/9. Okay, so that is equal concept. Next, we have remainder concept. Okay, so what is this remainder concept? Now, remainder concept is usually one of the first heuristic that students will go through, especially at P5. Now, how do you identify this remainder concept? Now, it's actually quite simple. Most of the time, remainder concept has got this word called the remainder. The remaining 20 tickets were given away free, right? So, you want to find out what is the remainder, right? So, at a concert, 55% was sold at full price and 40% of tickets at half price. So, you have a remainder of 20 tickets. So we want to find out this 20, remainder of 20, actually how many percent of it, right, represents 20 tickets. So over here is actually 5%. Next, we look at, of course, then there's the rest of the part which you have to work it out. Okay, you can take a look. It's quite self-explanatory. Okay, question number 2. Now once again, let's try and see if there are any clues that we can look out for that tells us that this is a remainder concept. A box contains red, blue, and yellow beads. 1/4 are red, 2/9 blue. 2/9 of the remaining beads are blue. Okay, 2 out of 9. So you see at first you have red, blue, and yellow. 1/4 of the beads are red. So this is 1 out of 4. Total is 4. So that means blue and yellow are 3. And then 2 out of 9 is over here. Right? So what we have to do is to make this 9 equal to this 2 and 7. Right? So we got to multiply the first set of ratios by 3. So we get 3:9 over here. Next. Okay, here's PSLE 2017. We have this particular question about orange juice. So let's see if we can find the remainder. See, remaining juice, right? So remainder concept again, right? It's like one of the first few type of heuristic you need to know. Okay, next is this repeated identity. So for repeated identity question, usually there is this set of ratios or this particular thing that's being repeated. Okay, let's see particular variable that's being repeated. So let's take a look and see if we can find any. So in this school, 70% of the members in the band and 60% of the members in the choir are girls. So both the band and the choir have the same number of boys, right? So the same number of boys. Okay, so that is probably a clue. That can tell you what this is about. So if 70% of the members in the band, 60% in the choir are girls, we can work out the table as shown. So we have a table that looks like this, right? Band over here, choir over here, right? Just fill in the percentage, alright? And you realize that you have to make the boys the same. Boys here, right? Because boys is actually being repeated, so we want to try and make them the same ratio, right? So how to make it the same ratio? Initially you have 3 and 4, so we find a common multiple of 12, right? So this set over here we're going to multiply by 4, so we get 28 is to 12, and this set over here we multiply by 3, so we get 18 is to 12. Okay, and from there you can find the rest, like find the difference. Right, so this is a more obvious sign of a repeated identity. Why? Because we have one set of ratio 4 is to 5, and then we have another 1 is to 3, we have another 1 is to 3. So Sally, Betty, Jane, they share some stems in the ratio. So who is being repeated here? Is Betty, right? So Betty is being repeated in these two sets of ratios. Okay, so what do? We make Betty the same, right? And the last one, Cindy has thrice as many sweets as Fiona, Sandra has twice. So there's one person who is being repeated here, which is Cindy, right? Cindy is being repeated in the two sets of ratios. So what we want to do is to make the ratio for Cindy the same, right, over here. Okay, right, last but not least, we have the before and after single and change. Now before and after, there are actually 5 different types, but we just want to look at one of them, right? So Cindy and June share the sum of money in the ratio 2 is to 5. After Cindy spent 45, so we have two different variables. We have Cindy and June here. But in this particular question, you have to see that June's sum never change, so we should try and make it the same. Okay, which is shown here. So there's a 15 and 15. Okay, right? So what does this mean? This means that the first set of ratio you got to multiply by 3, and the second set you got to multiply by 5 to make it the same, and then you can do a comparison, which is over there. Alright, so likewise here you got to find out which one never change. Second question, shopkeeper. Pens and pencils ratio 2 is to 9. Which one never change? The pen never change, right? Then you make it the same. And the last one, oops, okay, textbooks remain the same. Okay, so that's it, right? Now these are the 4 different types of heuristics which we find very important. That's why we are going through them right now. Hope this is useful for you. Let's say if you don't have the time to go through all the different types of heuristics that we are talking about for PSLE alone, you can perhaps focus on this few. Okay, that's it.